Acceptance.
Hey, welcome to the tech capital of the world. It's Kernersville, North Carolina. Another great day here in paradise. Kevin, how you doing?
I'm good. It is another great day in Kernersville.
Yeah, exactly.
I know you know this, but there's a new cookie shop opening in Kernersville.
Yes, the Cookie Crumble.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty
Crumble
good.
Cookie. They make new cookies every day. Like, it's not just the same brands. They have a special cookie they have to go in that day to get. And I think they rotate them, but like every day
there's change. They make a different like recipe, like cookie.
Yeah.
You say, okay, interesting.
So if you want the cookie of the day, you have to be there in the shop. So
okay, yeah, I'll be by
it's down in Kernersville. So
I saw that.
Downtown Kernersville's growing, Kevin. That it really is. It's growing.
I saw the sign go up there, and I was just like, I'm gonna stop by there. So yeah, funny. So a few things to talk about. I want to ask you firstly. Did you see the new... Hold on, we'll get to our topic today, by the way. Just want to talk about a couple of things first. We'll do that in a second. But hello, everybody. It's here. We're a couple minutes after, but you guys are all waiting, so it's all good, right? So I'll talk about a couple of things first. So did you see the new Samsung phones yet? So
I haven't seen them yet.
See the new. So it's like they did the Z Fold 3 and the Z Flip 3 were last year, right? So they got a 4 version this year, right? Are you interested in this form factor at all?
I'm not interested in the Fold
at all. I'm not either. I don't know why I'm not.
I just think it's going to break and not be very good. But maybe if you buy one every year, it'll be okay.
But hold on. You're not going to buy one every year. This sucker is $1,800.
Yeah, that's another reason not to buy it. So
that's kind of crazy, right? I mean, that's kind of crazy. Yeah. I got some feedback then. Did you hear that?
I'm good.
Anybody else hear feedback then? Or was that just me?
Just you.
Maybe. Could just be me. I don't know why I did.
But I'm not interested in the Fold 4. I do think this is I could be wrong, and I've been wrong before. But I think that this will have a limited run. It feels like Flip Phone, which was out for a while, and then it kind of went away. But it does give you a bigger screen technically, I guess, in a smaller form factor. But it's thick in your pocket. The Fold technology is kind of cool. I mean, the screen's kind of cool, but it's kind of crazy. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't either. I'm just not a fan. So there's that one, and there's a Flip as well. Again.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
It's kind of neat. That's small, but does anyone really want a small phone? I mean, it seems like we're using phones as our theaters anymore. So
I'm just wondering from a developer perspective too. Does this change?
It's a problem, dude.
It's a problem, right? I'm thinking the same thing because
problem.
This has got this little screen on the outside.
It's a problem.
And then this is obviously the other phone. The Fold is obviously a resolution that is brand new to this device, right? I mean, it has to be.
So you can target it. You can target the top. You can target the bottom. It's a problem, But I mean, I guess it's something that CSS and media queries can overcome if you're building a website for it.
Right.
Same kind of deal. You've got to come up with a form factor that hits just this one for this brand.
Right.
So
because you know this is not going to be a standardized form factor, right? It's just not. I remember
also like a foldable form.
Exactly. That's going to be a different resolution. And there is this issue with phones being different resolutions, period, right? That is a thing. I understand that. And that was kind of a thing from the beginning of when the iPhone came out. And then a different phone came out and it was a screen. It's like, how do we handle the screens? And they're all different sizes. And we've kind of come to somewhat of a standardization around them. They release the same kind of shape. This for me is just a totally different shape, and this one with the additional screen is just like, as a developer, what do you do with this? Like,
I'm sure there's going to be.
But how do you account for it?
I'd have to read on it and see kind of what they're doing and stuff like that. So can you do it with web and your app? Your app has to account for it. So there's a lot of problems in and around that.
Yeah.
But form factors do give you advantages if you can build something cool.
They do. Definitely. It just depends how many people buy them too. That's the other thing. I don't know. For me right now, I don't know. It's not something that I'm like, oh man, I want a foldable phone. I wouldn't mind playing with this one. I want to see like what this does.
No,
I want to see if I
I'd
would
play
actually
with
use
it.
it. But I'm not going
Yeah.
to spend. It's not going to become my primary phone, and I'm not going to spend $1,800 on it.
Yep. No,
You know, just to
don't
mess
think
around
so.
with it. It's you know, it's not in the casual buying price range, is it? You know, it's like
not.
it's a
Yeah.
flagship phone. I get it.
Yeah, you could be MKBHD, you know, and you'd have four
Well, he
of
gets
them,
sent
you
one,
know.
doesn't he? You know, yeah. One more thing to talk about before we talk about our topic.
Yeah.
.NET MAUI is now under general release or general availability in
Yeah.
Visual Studio 2022 17.3.
Yeah,
So
it's
now
nice.
moved from the
So
preview.
I was watching some videos on it. Haven't got to the GA portion of this yet, but this is exciting. The types of things that Maui can do is exciting. It's really, really cool. So it's something that you want to look into. You know, it's the evolution of Xamarin Forms. It's the next version of that. So think of it in that realm. But it does a lot more things. It can hit a lot more targets, a lot more form factors. It's really kind of cool.
I saw one of them in another article, actually, a little bit. I don't think it was on this one. It was in a different one, talking about it hitting ARM as well. So
Yep. ARM and
we've seen a bunch more things with ARM, because we were talking about yesterday. We were talking about totally unrelated, but Parallels, the new version of Parallels, being now fully compatible with ARM M1 and M2 Mac.
that's what they're saying. We haven't tried it yet, so I need to borrow your MacBook and just put
right, just exactly, just get it all set up and see if it actually works. That's the problem with trying it. It's like to try it. It's like you gotta have a version of Windows. You gotta buy Parallels. You gotta do all this stuff. It's like $300 to like try the thing. Like, I want to see if it works, but I don't want to like go all in if I don't have to go all in. You know?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of crazy. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's cool. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is something that came to light to me this morning. I was doing some research and things. I read about Cisco was hacked, and the target vulnerability. And I hadn't thought about this really before, but like the person that got hacked, they hacked their Google account. And when they hack their Google account,
when they say hack, they just get access to their Google account. Is that what we're saying?
Whatever his password was uncovered, whatever it is, and the person logged in to his Google account, which then in turn gave them access to all of his passwords. All the passwords synced to this hacker's device.
Yeah.
And I'd never really thought about that before. I don't store things in the browser. I use a third party, but like that's a major weakness when you start thinking about like
it is.
That your passwords are behind essentially your Google account password, which, you know, could be vulnerable. So like, just think about that next time you're storing passwords, you know.
It is a thing. The more things you link together, hackers are smart, man. They'll find ways to get in the easiest way to get in, right? And that opens up, you have these things linked together. Let's say that you need to reset a password, and you have access to this person's Gmail account. You go and reset now their bank password, and it sends the password to the Gmail account, which you have access to. And now all of a sudden you're into their bank account. and it's like, you got to be careful.
But if you have their Gmail password, you have their account password, and now you can get linked to all their passwords and just look through there. And they found the VPN key that was stored in the password manager, and then they did a phishing attempt for some kind of two-factor, and then they were in Cisco.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, I believe it. Two-factor is good, but it's also bypassable. It's an extra level, right? It's like
he convinced someone to send him the code or whatever. It was one of those like, send me the code that I was just sent to you.
Yep. There you go. So people are like, well, SMS two-factor is bad, right? Because it's like you can spoof the number and you can get the thing. Like, okay, you can do that, or you can also just ask somebody. It doesn't matter how they do it, whatever security they have, you just ask somebody for the number and they'll give it to you. Like, that's
this dude did for some reason. I don't know why, but like,
because he got fooled. He got fooled, and somebody called him from tech support and like, hey, I'm going to send you this number to get into your account, and it's like he got fooled. He got tricked.
Yeah,
it sucks.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah. So let's talk about finding jobs. So I think that is the biggest question I get interviewing people coming into Coder Foundry, and still to this day, I have some advice that I don't know why, Kevin, but this is controversial. But like, and I wrote a book on this topic. But like, it's just talking about taking the first offer, and I'll get into like Twitter Spaces. I'll kind of lurk around and listen to some of the advice flowing around in those things, and it's just like, in my opinion, which I think is backed up by like, I think people need to understand. I have like a macro view of this. I can watch thousands of people go out and try to find a job, and figure out why they didn't win. And then I tell you why they're not winning, and some people kind of push back. But like, it's taking the first offer that you get. And this is especially if you're coming out of a boot camp or you're coming out of college and you start interviewing, I think you should take the first offer. Now, I had a parent of one of our students tell me, he says, I've never taken the first offer. I think you should negotiate hard. I'm like, okay, we're not in the NBA
is always
here.
the counter to this, isn't it?
It's good. Yeah. I mean, it's good, but it's not. We're not NBA. This isn't like a first round draft pick. Also, people that aren't in the business of trying to find other people jobs, they take their position of power, authority, and skill set and everything else, and transfer it right to a guy or girl that just graduated from college or a boot camp, and they're like, well, this is what I do. I get 8 offers. I'm like, well, they may only get 1. You have to understand that. So it goes back to the old adage, 2 in the bush is worth, isn't as good as 1 in the hand.
Right.
And so what you do is you take the first offer that you get. Now, and then I had someone push back on me this other day, and I was like, well, okay, like this is what I define by the first offer. Let's say that you're working with a recruiter or you're working with a boot camp recruiting system, whatever. And they say, hey, where do you want to work? And you say, okay, I'll work in this city and I'll drive this much to a job if I have to be in person.
And just to clarify, what a lot of people say when asked that question is, I'll do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Most people will say I'll do anything up front.
Yeah.
So that's you ask for the limitations. The limitations are generally quite wide, right? That's what they'll generally tell you.
Yeah. So then you go out and you find them that role. Right. And a lot of times it's a dead-on match. Okay, it's where you live, it's the money you were looking for, but then for various reasons that they believe is they turn it down.
Right.
And this is why this is bad, because I don't know when the next offer's coming. Like the one thing that when I'm talking to students is I can't predict the future, man. I mean, right. I could tell you what's going on in the present, but like the future economy, the future company, when the next offer is going to come, I have no idea. And I've seen students over and over again turn down that first offer, and they extend their job search 3 months or 6 months or 7 months. But they also don't, a lot of times, code during that period. And so their skills become more and more eroding away from when they left at the peak of their power from the boot camp or from college, where everything's fresh on your mind, and they don't break in.
And we see that after a boot camp.
And then it's my fault. It's just like, what do you mean?
We see that a lot after a boot camp, and I know why we see that, because a boot camp is intense, right? It's 12 weeks. Yeah. It's full on. We say, like, forget you've got Netflix, right? Like, don't do anything but do the boot camp for 12 weeks solid. And at the end of it, you're kind of burned out. I get it. Yeah. It's tough. You've done a lot of work. You need a vacation. Some people literally do go on vacation after doing the boot camp. They don't go to the job pot straight away. But then they never get the job part. They need to take that break, and I get it. That makes sense. But you also have to remember that you have to keep your skills up. If you don't, the longer your job search takes and you're not doing anything, then it's an exponential just drop off of chances of getting a job.
Right. And so I've seen several people just turn down the offers that they agreed to interview for. They interviewed for them. We got the money they wanted. And in some cases, man, we went back and said, okay, he'll come if you can increase it by this.
There has been a counter offer, right?
Yeah, there's been a counter, and then the company accepts the counter, and they still turn it down because of whatever reason.
So here's the thing, reason-wise, right? So what's your thoughts on this? Like, what? Okay, so we all have a line, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Where we're like, as far as we're willing to go, like for certain things, like there's certain things that we'll have a stance on. What's your thoughts on like? How close do you get to that?
So, like, what I always tell people is, let's say that we're working in the tech industry, okay? Yep. And we're going to work in, what I'm talking about is mainstream tech industries. Like, this is a marketing company. It's an invoicing company. We're not talking about, hey, Pornhub is our developer partner. Like we've got all these jobs out there for you. Like, I would draw the line at those kind of things that are just, like, fringe type deals, But
again, that might be. But don't forget, everyone's line's different too. So that's like
everyone's line.
Somebody else might be like, that's okay, and like so it's like you're right. So everybody has their own line. But here's the thing: you have to be willing to go close to that line. You have to be willing to. The first offer that you get isn't going to be everything that you want it to be. It might not be the right money. It might not be the right location. It might not be the right work. It might not be doing the thing that you want to do. But you have to make a concession. If you want 5 things
Right.
out of it and you can check off 3 of those 5 things and 2 of them aren't right, still take it. If you check off 1 of
Do
them,
it.
still take it.
So here's what I want people to understand is where our advice comes from is like you've exited your boot camp or your college or whatever, is that the next learning thing that you embark on, I want that to be a paid learning opportunity. So like you go to a company straight out of a boot camp and they're paying you 60,000 or 65 grand a year if you're on the East Coast, which is pretty good coming out of the boot camp. You're being paid to learn the next thing. That could be React, that could be SQL, that could be something else. And you do that for a year. And what I'm telling people is, I need to get you 1 year of experience, then be choosy. Like the next opportunity that you pick, you can say, okay, I'm going to look around. I've got a job. I'm secure. I like where I'm at. You know, you have a position of power, and then you get recruited more heavily coming out of that. And then once you get to 5 to 7 years, dude, like you could move in a week if you wanted to.
Perfectly timed comment from Florida man. Took my first offer, been here for a year. Now what? This place blows. So been there for a year, hates the job. You are in the
blow the taco stand, baby. I mean, like, you know,
position. You are in a prime position to get that second gig.
Right.
Trust me, it will be way easier than your first one. Have you even looked? It's going to be way easier.
Have you looked yet? Call a recruiter and say, hey, you know, I've been coding this for a year and see what's out there for you. But now you can say, you don't have to take something like tomorrow or next week. You can stick around, you can be choosy, and the place blows. Okay, we all have had bad jobs. I mean, like, I get it, you know. But in general, we work if we're in the U.S., these Florida men in the U.S., I'm pretty confident they're not beating him with a stick or, you know, break major laws or anything like that.
For whatever reason, he just doesn't like it. For whatever reason,
he doesn't like it. Maybe the people suck, maybe the job suck, but I get it. So now what you can do is look around, call a recruiter, let them put out the feelers for you, look at the offers coming in. You could typically get a raise, or maybe it's just a lateral move that you like better. It's a better fit for you, better technology, better work schedule, whatever it is. So I think the first offer is great. And so because it allows you to build that 1 year experience, it gives you options. And also you get paid as a learning activity before. Up until this point, typically, you've been paying other people to teach you how to code. Now someone's going to pay you to learn how to code. And I think it's an underrated thing that people think about, you know? So let's, the other thing that if you've got any questions there, just throw them up there, Kevin. But the other thing I wanted to touch on is in your interview process, you know, that what mistakes people make during the interview process, why they don't break in to begin with, is that there's such bad advice out there about like how you should behave in an interview process. I'm talking about as a first-time tech dev.
We talk about these things all the time, don't we? Like, we talk about these all the time. Bobby will message me in the morning and be like, have you seen this tweet? I'll be like, I read it. I read it. I'm like, I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. But like, so the goal of the interview for you need to go in there with this mindset and write this down if this doesn't make sense to you. And any comments is fine. I'm not going to blow you out of the water if you disagree. Trust me, just put it on there. I'd like to talk to you. But like, the goal of the interview is to get an offer. Period. It is a sales job. Like, you were in there to sell yourself into this company. You can get an offer. And once you have an offer, you can make a decision to turn it down or not. I would say if it's the first one, take it. But let's say that, you know, you're looking at 8 or 9 offers. So, but the job is not to interview the company as hard as what some of these people say in tech Twitter. You have to understand that people giving this advice out are in a different position than you are. They have 8 to 9 or 10 offers on the table. They have 10 years of experience. They have done lots of things. They don't have to take everything they get. You need to get a paycheck. And so therefore, asking what the compensation is of the CEO and what the bonus program is like ludicrous. You're coming in at the very bottom of the company. Typically, you're going to fix some bugs and do some stuff, learn while you're there, get lots of skill and experience, and they're going to pay you while you're doing it.
Yeah, paid pretty well.
And putting yourself in where you're asking something that's really, it's borderline arrogant in my opinion. Like, you know, like how is the CEO compensated is one of these questions. You know, you need to understand that. Like, why? Like, why do you need to understand that? You know, so let's say that, you know, his stock bonus program is 88% of his salary, you know, that, and he makes $4.5 million a year. You know,
is that going to inform your decision? Does that be like, I can't work there?
I can't work there.
That's what I'm saying. Is that the line?
He's paid too much.
Is that
He's
person's line? Because that's a crazy line to draw the sand, right?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, so you need to worry about your own paycheck versus someone else's paycheck. You know, there's something like that. The other one that I don't like, and I see this one all the time. This is more common. Is like, why is this position open? And everyone says, "Ooh, that's a good question. That's what you need. You need to drill into there. Did they fire the last guy? Have they been looking for 12 months and they can't find anybody? Has there a lot of rotation in there? What's going on here? I want to dive deep into this hiring process of this company." And so the question you have to ask yourself is, if they offer you the job, are you going to take it? Does it really matter that the last guy that worked there got fired? Does it really matter? You don't know who he is.
I can say
you really
you're
don't know
you're
the
never going to find out
circumstances.
why. No.
Yeah,
You're never find out
maybe he picked up the water cooler in the middle of the office and slammed it on the floor and just had an emotional breakdown. I have seen plenty of emotional breakdowns in my thing. I have seen true Jerry Maguire moments in life, standing in a network department where, the double bird and the whole thing. And it's like, wow, that's one way to quit right there, man. So like, I've seen it, All right, look at this. Let's see what Luke had said here.
Luke, thank you for the super chat.
Yeah.
Luke says, my hell job contract was terminated 5 weeks early. Okay. How unusual is that? They gave me a great recommendation. Oh, that's good. It has still been 10,000 times easier to get interviews with just 5. I'm guessing it would have been just 5. Oh, just 5 months of pro experience.
Yes, 100%. Like, if it's a contract, specifically if you go to a contract, contracts aren't guaranteed. This isn't the NBA. It's not the NFL, or NFL contracts aren't guaranteed unless you're Deshaun Watson. But in general, those contracts aren't guaranteed, so they can end them at any time they want. You can also walk off the job anytime you want. So
it can also be extended too, right? You see that as well. You see it both ways.
Yeah. So maybe the company runs out of money or whatever it is, or they decided not to do what you're working on, or maybe you're not performing well. Let's say that you suck at it. Let's take the worst case scenario. They put you on a 10-week contract, 2-month gig, and they've determined 4 weeks in that you're terrible. You're not any good. You leave. Okay. You just basically say that was a contract, and you go to the next one, and you learn from your mistakes or whatever you happen. Yep. Let's say you're fantastic, and they just run out of money, or the guy's just crazy, and he just says, "Get out of here! I'm firing you." Why? You wore a blue shirt.
It's
and
Monday.
It doesn't really matter. It's like, okay, you don't like blue? Okay, I'm leaving. And so you leave, but you can take that experience. What Luke is talking about, it is 10,000 times. I can't even explain to you the order of magnitude easier when you talk to a recruiter and say, "Have you worked before?" "Yeah, I was working at this last place. It was on a 6-month gig, so that I'm looking for my next opportunity. So I'm open to contracts or whatever it is." So boom, you land.
Which also, the contract thing in this industry isn't as
it's common.
It's common. It's not a thing that people will frown upon and say, "I work somewhere for 6 months. I work here for 6 months. Here for 6 months." That's not a bad thing.
I did contracting myself.
Contract work here, did contract there, contract there. It's like people are used to that. That's the thing. Yep. Recruiters will not shy away from that. They won't say, "Man, this person jumps around a lot." It's not that kind of thing. It's different in this industry.
So I think that taking the first offer allows you to do 1A, get paid, which I think is what we want to do. B, get experience and get paid for that experience. Number 2, and then in the second job, get a raise or get promoted at the place that you're at. Those are types of things. If you're in contracting and those contracts are 6 months to 8 months to 12 months, that gives you experience to see a wide variety of business systems. So this is why I contracted. I worked at a cleaning company, Ecolab. I did that for a while. I've been at a bank, and I was at insurance. I've done it all, and so that allows me in my age now, where I've seen how different industries work, and I have a broad understanding of how most systems work. It just makes me a better developer. So contracting is great, but you have to take the first one that you get. And some people are afraid that they're going to be scarred emotionally and physically for life if they work under a bad boss.
Right.
It's like, you're not. It's not going to happen, man. Just move on, and then and you'll be at the water cooler at the next place laughing at the crazy man, that you worked for, so it'll be fodder for forever. You'll have these war stories forever, so nicknames will be born. That's how. So,
nicknames would definitely be born.
I have lots of nicknames, so I could tell lots of stories. That's what happens in life, and I think so many people are trying to stay and try to find the perfect fit. Like they're going to stay there forever. And I would ask you this question. Think about this. How many jobs have you had up until this point? If you're watching this show right now, how many jobs have you had?
Right.
The next job will probably not be your first job, and it won't be your last. You will move from that place and do something else, especially if you're early on in your career. I'm talking to someone and they're under 30. You're sitting there from 20 to 30, you're going to have a lot of jobs, unless you start your own thing like I did and you stay at the same place for 20 years because you own it. But you will have other roles and other positions. And so you don't need to think of this as a permanent move. Now, sometimes you get lucky. You go in there and you're like, hey, that's awesome. I'm going to stay here forever. Great. That's awesome. That's what I want. But you need to get that experience and 1 year experience first before you can really develop that career.
Here's something I've seen pushback on. I've seen this a couple times. What's your thoughts on this? I've seen somebody say, well, if I take this, I took this job and I feel like this job killed my career. I wasn't doing what I said I was going to be doing. They mistreated me, and I feel like it's now killed my career, and I have no chance of turning that into something else.
It's just not. It's factually untrue. Like you can always take any experience that you have, good, bad, great, and turn that into the next experience. Always, right. You can always do that. You can always learn from whatever situation you're put in to be able to push that out to something else. So I think that I've worked for lots of places and I've had lots of bosses in my career. Early on before I started Cortex, but and they were all different. There's different things, and some were good, some were bad. I mean,
I'm with you.
Some
I
ended
think
well.
The way that you look at it is, while you may think that it's derailed you and it was a bad experience and it sucked, you're not going to say that on your resume, are you? You're not going to turn around on your resume and be like, my terrible coder job number 1 at crappy company. I did nothing here. My boss sucked. No, you're going to say what you did there. You're going to say I worked there for 6 months. Here was my title. And that you're going to spin that into the next gig.
I can tell the story, a personal story, and hopefully this person isn't watching this, but I can tell it. Early on in college, I was working at a sporting goods store, and I had a disagreement with the manager of that sporting goods store. Okay. And so I got let go from this sporting goods store. I got fired because of whatever is probably my fault. I can't remember.
Nikes, you were all Nikes, and they wanted to sell Adidas.
Yeah, K-Swiss or something. So she says, you'll never work in this industry again. And here I am on YouTube. So look at that.
You're not selling.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I could go. It doesn't matter. You basically can recover from any job firing, anything that happens, and continually commit to your craft, especially in coding, and you'll be working. There isn't an underground network of CEOs that talk to each other and go, "Hey, you know what? Let me talk to you about Bob."
Exactly.
He's a problem. They don't know. They don't care. They just want to know, what can you do for me today? And they'll hire you. So I think you're going to be fine if you take that first job offer.
I'm going to do some comments here as well, and we'll talk about some questions here. But this one, Shelly just put this in chat, and I'm going to put this up here because this is a hot tip. Hot tip. Yep. This is it.
Don't.
I mean, not only just the boss, but also the company. You want every one of your former employees or former employers to be the most successful, greatest places you've ever worked, because that looks good on your resume.
And it also paints you as a positive person. And I'm saying that an interview isn't to air your dirty laundry. It's not to interview the company. It's to get an offer. That's the only reason you're there, so I can get a paycheck. And so if you think that airing your dirty laundry at your previous position makes you look better, and that's why I had to leave, man. They were doing some really unethical things there, Kevin. And
it doesn't matter if they were. It just makes you look bad.
You just paint yourself in that light, and they're like, man, he's a malcontent. Because it's never as bad as sometimes people make it seem, as always. And it could be, and it doesn't matter. All you say is this.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. Doesn't matter if it
doesn't matter. You say, man, I really like that place, but I really like what you're doing. And that's how you transition there from, tell me what happened in your last role. Well, I mean, I loved what I was doing there, but I really like what you're doing. And so like I dodged that question all the way because I want to know about what I'm going to do, not what I did in the past. Yeah, we worked on React. We did some projects. It was fun while I'm there, but I'm ready to look at my next opportunity. What has me interested about this position is, boom, what you're building. I want to know more about that. How does that work? And so if you want to quiz the company and ask questions when they say, do you have any questions? The one shouldn't be like, what does the boss make? Does he live in a gated community? I was asked that once in an interview. Do you live in a gated community? I'm like, you mean like with a fence? I mean, like, what are you talking about? Like,
that's hilarious.
I'm like,
because you're right. Like, what the answer to that question is that really going to be your deciding factor? Whether I live in a gated community or not? Like, that would be my response to that question. Be like, what do you want me to tell you?
It's like, let's say that I am. Does that matter?
I'm going to say, yeah. Do I need to live in one to show that it's like super successful? Or are you going to like look down on me if I say that I do? Like, I don't understand. Like, what's your logic behind that question?
I think my exact response to that guy was, you mean like with a gate and a moat, like with a water around it? Yeah, I was really, because he was done at that point. Like,
yes, I do. Well, you're right. At that point, as soon as he's asked that question, that's it. He's done.
I have a moat around my castle, So
you answered why you don't ask that question right there too, because by the time he'd asked that question, your answer doesn't matter because you've already ruled him out. He's never going to get an offer. It doesn't matter whether he wants to work there or not.
Right. It doesn't matter. So, do you live in a gated community? Like, what kind of question is that? But like, anyway, so like, I think what you need to do, I got sidetracked here, but like, if you want to get a job, be interested in what they are doing. And I think that is the best way, the best question that you can ask is, what are you trying to build? What will this position be building? Tell me more about the project. Imagine if you go on a date and all you talk about is yourself to that girl or that guy you're on a date with. You're probably not going to get in the next date. You got to show interest in the other party. And if you can get the other party to talk about work, you win. I mean, like it's a lot winner because then they'll think, oh, they're interested in what they're doing. They're friendly. They're nice. All of these things come out. Or they could leave the interview and they're like, man, that guy had it rough at the other place. He's really injured from that. I don't think we can afford to hire him.
Right.
So like, that's what happens.
Yep. Here you go. Lots of rental apartments in gated communities in Palm Bay.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. Does
that count? I don't know. Does that count? I don't know. Yeah, sure I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I live in a gated community.
We live in the same area, Kevin. How many gated communities actually are in the Triad? Like, how many is this guy driving around to? Like, I know one, maybe.
You know what's funny? If somebody would have asked me that question in the apartment I lived in last, I would have said yeah, because it was like I lived before we moved like a couple of houses ago. When we first moved to the area, we stayed in an apartment, right? Because we didn't know where we were going to live. We stayed in an apartment. It was a gated community. It was a gated apartment. Like, yes, I could say that.
I don't think there's. I mean, I'm sure there's some out there, and just full disclosure, I don't. I mean, I have a yard, and it doesn't have a fence in front of it, so like. It has a driveway.
I live in a very nice new house, and it is not a gated community. Yeah. It is just a regular road you can drive by. Yeah, it's too funny. Like that matters. That's such a funny thing. Okay, let's do some comments and questions. Let's talk about these real quick. Ben says it may go without saying, but this is the first paid offer.
Yes, don't work for free unless you're working for me. Which should be your quote. Like if you're going to work for free, it should be building your own projects and your own things so you can get a job. I don't believe in free internships for software developers. I don't believe in that. If it's the only thing you can get and it's a great opportunity, maybe. But like even the FANG companies are paying people through boot camps. They're paying people through internships. That day for software developers, I think should go away. It has gone away. And I think that if you can get a job that pays, in America, you shouldn't work for anything less than minimum wage anyway. You shouldn't work for free for anything. It should be illegal to even offer that as a trade. Just
be very wary of anybody offering that.
Yeah. So
they're just trying to get you to do their work for nothing.
But this is paid. I believe in paychecks, Ben, for sure. So that's what I believe in.
Kind of off-topic question, but we'll talk about it real quick because it's in order. Learning Bootstrap 3. How much should I know before moving to JS? Should I learn Bootstrap 4 or 5?
5.
5. Just quit learning 3 and just go straight to 5.
Yes. The class names change. A lot of things have changed since 3 and 4. Yeah. And everything's moved to 5. I think you should learn 5. You can always backwards and downgrade if you're on a project that's using 3. So learn 5 at this point, and then learn JS at the same time. Bootstrap is CSS and allows you to build HTML. You've got to know JavaScript to manipulate the DOM if you're going to build some kind of apps. If you just want to do layout pages, you can do that with HTML Bootstrap.
There you go.
Good question.
Brian says, just accepted an offer for the first tech job, hardware networking, switching from education. We see a lot of people switch from education, by the way, Ryan. You're in a big pool of people who do this. Development cloud is the end goal, but this is a good start. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? What do you think about taking a QA role or a network admin role or something like that?
So I think QA roles are great. There's a new type of role coming out that it's a new title that we've seen several people interviewing as I've started seeing them. And they're like engineer and test. And then there's engineer and like support. And so like what people don't understand, I've done these roles myself, is like you have 2 teams in these large companies. You'll have a team that is supporting the current version of the software and then a team that's building the next version. So the current problem with Salesforce, if you're on the Salesforce support team, is fixing the bugs that currently Salesforce has. And then there's probably a Salesforce team that's building whatever the next release is, the next iteration of whatever that's going to be. And so a lot of people look, I'm not doing help desk. I mean, it's not help desk, man. Like you will interact with customers some. You will get tickets in directly from the customers, but then you'll be working on those said tickets and fixing code and doing maintenance. The other company may be doing more greenfield, more other types of development. And while that's maybe more appealing to you, if you're just breaking into code, taking that support role that's also coding, and maybe it's 50% coding, is good. I mean, you can parlay that into something else. Just like Brian will be able to parlay hardworking and networking into software development because he'll have an understanding of how some of these things work that some developers don't.
Yeah, so. I would say you made a smart move. It's going to be easier to go from an existing tech job, even if it is hardware, into a software job than going straight from teaching to a software job. It's just you've made like a half step. It just makes it easier.
Yeah. And maybe you'll like it where you're at and just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, that's possible too. All these jobs pay pretty well. What I could say is the natural thing from hardworking and networking is going into DevOps. Like the DevOps is the next, probably an easier migration into DevOps that you can move over to the cloud for DevOps for Azure, DevOps for AWS, those kind of things. So, but either way, learn how to code, and then parlaying that experience will be a plus on your resume when you start looking. It'd be a good start. I like it.
Let's see. N17 Hero says, there are things you can't learn on your own that paid work gives you. So large code bases, working in teams, definitely. Soft skill stuff, definitely. Making sensible compromises for deadlines, Experience from mentors, definitely, right? That's a big one
time, man.
Job,
you just can't. People just don't understand, man. Until you've worked somewhere large, you don't understand the problems they run into and why. From the outside looking in, we have a very naive view of how things work. And they're like, man, why doesn't Microsoft just fix that? And I'm like, they're trying. I mean, like, it's way more complicated than you think. I mean, like, there's things to consider. They just can't like change it in production because you want to, like there's rollouts, there's teams, there's other priorities, there's just lots of things. And there's compromises that companies have to make because of deadlines, That's what and then there's politics. He didn't give you that. You can always get the politics in there too. So
right.
The negative part of it.
Let's see. Eric says, I took the first offer, not really what they sold me on, which we hear that sometimes too. But I hear from more recruiters than I ever have because of the company I work for.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's it.
Even if the company doesn't tell you exactly what you're going to do, or they weren't clear, or you got here and man, this isn't what I thought. Just having the experience allows you to move to the next thing. If you don't have the experience, it's hard to get to the next thing, and people want to go straight to the top. I've seen people turn down money. I mean, like real offers because the money's not good enough. I'm like,
right.
The money doesn't matter to some degree. I'm not saying you work for $5 an hour, $7 an hour. There's a minimum wage here for software developments. But if you're coming out of a boot camp or college and you're saying, I'm going to get 110K, it's probably not going to happen. And like you need, but if you work somewhere for a year and then you can get to 3 years of experience, then you can get to where you want. So why delay that search for a year? Might as well get paid while you're looking for the perfect position. So
definitely.
that's how I look at all those things.
And 3 years, even in our area, is a 6-figure salary.
Pretty much.
We've seen plenty of bootcamp students get to 6 figures after 3 years. Definitely, that's definitely.
It's just not right out of the bootcamp, which
it wasn't
a lot
the
of
first
people
thing.
think it's going to be.
Remember Lucas, who took a job at like 40 something. Yep. 3 years later, he took a job at like 110. So it's like, I mean, that's just.
He took the first offer. It wasn't perfect. He went through his things, got bumps along the way. I think he's on his 3rd job now, and that's fine. He's still, and he's doing great.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, definitely. So while we're talking about money, let's talk about something was just talking about in chat here. What's your thoughts on this? What's your thoughts on a counter offer? Good, bad, should we do them? When should we do them?
So here's what I think about counters. So like first and foremost, what you should do is if you're working with your recruiter, tell them what you're looking for. The recruiter should know what the job pays. Be honest what you're doing, okay? So going in there and then everyone's talked about money before they even interviewed you. That's kind of like, hey, I'm looking for this. And so let's say that let's put it out there, Matt. Let's say you're putting it out there and you say, hey, I'm looking for 65K. You're working with your recruiter. Now, a lot of people, especially early on, want to be super vague about this. This is another bad advice that they get. It's like, never throw the first number out. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Like, does it matter if you maximize? They're underpaying me. They're undervaluing me. I didn't get paid enough. Okay. Here's what I want you to understand. If you go to a place and you're underpaid, you will simply leave in 6 months to get paid again because the recruiter is going to call you to raise your money.
Because the recruiter knows.
That's on the company to do. I promise you that they're not trying to get you in at the lowest possible price, even though if you go to tech Twitter and go to these text, but that's what they're saying. The man's out to screw you every time. He's trying to like whittle you down, but you can, Matt, I want to ask you a question. If you go in there at $65,000 a year and you told the recruiter that and that was communicated to the guy up front and he offers you 65K and you're like, wow, that was easy.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Go back and say 60?
Should ask for 72.
70,
and you go in there and you tell the recruiter and go, I'm going to, what I'm really thinking is 72 to get me to move in there, and so now what you've done is the recruiter has to go and have the uncomfortable situation with the employer. All right. It's not always pleasant. It's not always easy to do. And here's how that conversation goes. The recruiter goes, hey, John, we're talking with Matt here and he's he likes what he sees and you're trying to sell it the whole time. He says, but he's really looking around 72K. Is that something you can do? And you're like, oh, I thought he was coming in for 65.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I know, but like, he's fielding other offers, even if the recruiter's lying to the guy. I don't know what he has to do. He goes, yeah, and then he goes, you know what? I'm just going to go with Frank over there.
Yeah.
And so the recension comes in. And I've seen this on Twitter where people are like, man, I countered and they turned it down and they're so mad. I'm like, so the question is, would you go to work for 65 and would you risk losing it to get maybe 5K annually? And you got to realize this is
which will come anyway
in your pocket.
Right. Exactly.
It's going to come anyway, like you're going to get it anyway, and so I don't think you have to counter every single thing. What I'm saying is early on, you don't counter. Later on, when you're sitting there and you've got 120K and you got 5 offers and you're sitting in an office with a great job and they're going to counter whatever offer you get anyway. So you can counter and say, I would only move for X. And I can tell you this, what is savvy, I think, is you tell the recruiter up front, I'm only considering offers that are X.
Yeah.
Anything under that, I'm not looking, I'm only considering that. They get that money worked out and it makes it easy. You don't counter after you've already communicated a price. I think that's bad form on both sides.
We've definitely seen that. We've seen a negotiation happen where we said like, yeah, I'd take a job for 68. And then it comes in, you say, here's the job for 68. And they're like, nah, not interested.
Yeah.
Like, it's not enough money.
Bonus.
What are we talking about? I don't know. We've already
if 5K over 12 months isn't a lot, it's really not that big of a difference. And I know that some people are like throwing their hands up. Like the number one goal is to get 1 year of experience, Matt. That is the goal. And the second goal is to get an offer. And so you don't want to risk your first offer by pushing a counter. You want to get the max that you can. And if you're working with a recruiter, that's what they're trying to do. They get paid 20% first year annual on whatever you get. So they're going to the max right there. They're going to go, hey, you know, they're going to talk to the boss and say, what are you paying here? And if they don't tell them what the position pays, they're probably not going to present them with candidates because they have no idea if they can win. They have no idea. Or if you're going to come out there at $15 an hour, I can't find you a candidate. So they're going to get the salary out of them. You know, so we've had plenty of people come into Coder Foundry here that says, we'd like to look at your candidates. And I'm like, well, what does it pay? I do it right. I'm just straight. That's my first question. What does it pay? I'm going to ask the hard question for students. And they're like, I can't tell you. And I'm like, well, we don't have any students.
Yeah.
You know, and so like what I want to do is make sure that we have a pay range. And that way I can come back to the student and go, okay, this guy's paying in the mid 40s. It's a little bit lower. I've talked to him. It's a pretty good place. Let's interview for it and see if we can get an offer here. And then, you know, 6 months to a year, we'll talk to you and see kind of where you're at, you know, and that's, even if it comes in lower, I'm still going to get the expectation set on both sides so that you can get it. What the thing that you shouldn't do is try to counter after that, you know, after the expectation has been set. It can cause you to not get hired.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
kind of, there's a time and a place to do it. If you're not working with a recruiter, obviously it has to be a little bit different. But again, I would say just being honest up front is going to get you far. And give them your highest number to start off with, and maybe they'll come in lower and you'll be fine with it because you know in your heart, you're like, I really want a 65, but I'm going to tell them 70. Like that might be okay then. They're going to, and then they offer you 65. Like, I'm okay with that.
And listen to the recruiter when they tell you that it's too high. Like say, listen, man, it's too high.
Recruiter knows.
Like it's, they know. Like,
because they want you to get the most amount of money.
A job at. Yeah, I can get you a job here. So like you have to listen to your recruiter, and not all companies pay the same. I get it. Some companies pay less than others. And so, but you're trying to get 1 year experience. So then you can turn around and maximize this. This is all our experience. All of our advice is centered around you getting 1 year experience, and trying to counter in your first position is just, I think it's a mistake. I've seen it go both ways where it has worked and it has not. I've seen it happen both ways.
But like you say, where it has worked, it's worked in the favor of maybe $5,000 per year.
Yeah.
And you split that across the year, it's like, was it really like worth the chance of not getting it at the lower rate? Like that's the thing. That's what you're gambling against. I know it's a tough gamble, but you know, is the reward worth it? I don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think you can get that in the next position. And like I said, if they're truly underpaying you, you're not going to stay there. I promise you, another recruiter is going to call you in 6 months, and they're going to say, "You're making $42,000 at that place." Oh.
It's going to be the same recruiter because they know it's going to be the same recruiter because they know where they placed you at, and they know they're going to call you back, and because they're going to have to they're going to have an agreement, right, where they're going to have to wait at least 6 months, right? Generally, the recruiter has an agreement like 90 days, right? They're going to have this agreement, so they're going to have this agreement where you're going to have to wait the 3-6 months, whatever it is, and then trust me, they're calling you back, be like, you know that job I placed you in, and I made $10,000 placing you there. I got another one of those. You interested? It pays more.
You interested? And then and there are also other recruiters will come in. Will snap you up too once you start working. They'll look for a .NET developer or whatever, and they'll find you and like, okay, that's a 1 year guy. I want a 1 year guy. That's what I'm looking for because they're still relatively inexpensive compared to 5 year guys. And
so how do we hook up with a recruiter?
Go to LinkedIn and find them. Like large companies. Like Tech Systems are out there, nationwide recruiters. We're partnered up with them here at Coder Foundry, but you can easily find a recruiter in your area using LinkedIn. You can just type in technical recruiter and just look through the companies. I don't know where you live and what state you are, but Tech Systems is one that we use.
Is one that we know. We're familiar with.
And they're every state and all over the place, and they may or may not call you back. Working with recruiter, the other thing too is I want you guys to understand this. The other thing I see is like you meet the recruiter the first time, and for whatever reason, you treat the recruiter like you would a date or something like that. So then when they don't call you back, you're offended. Understand this is a business relationship. If they don't have anything for you, then they don't have anything for you. They're not going to talk to you all day long about your hopes and dreams and fears. Or maybe you date the recruiter. I don't know. But in general, you need to think of this like a business relationship. Work with 7, work with 5, whatever you got to do to get the offers coming in until you land with the one that truly is on your side. And that takes a couple of years and a couple of positions to kind of really develop. I had one in my career before I started Cortex that I worked with quite a bit and actually used him to place people into Cortex after that. And so like, and he had a good feel from what I was, and I felt real comfortable with the types of offers that were coming in. So basically go to LinkedIn, find a technical recruiter. You can start with tech systems, find one locally in your area. And then you can find other ones, other mid-range companies that work there, small companies, one-man shops can be just as effective as a large one. So work with several of them until you get a good feel of who's going to serve you the best. But be nice to all of them. Always take their calls, always answer their emails, always pick it up, take every meeting, try to go to every interview if you're interested, truly interested. Don't go to an interview that you're not interested in, though.
Yeah, that'll
bad. Hurt you with the recruiter.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will.
It does.
Yep.
Especially if you go out and get an offer and turn it down, it kind of sucks.
Well, if you get an offer and you turn it down, the recruiter is likely going to kind of blacklist you.
No, they're probably not going to use you a whole lot. They may still use you because your skills are so much
right, but they're going to put you to the bottom of the pile.
You're down the list a little bit. Like, come on, man. Like, I need to know if you're going to take this.
Yep.
Because if you don't take it,
they don't make money. Yeah, if you don't take it, they don't make money.
And
all the work they've put in.
No one likes to be turned down. I mean, everyone gets jilted at that point, including the company, and it's just bad. So it's better to say, I'm not interested in that role before you interview, and then they're still going to work with you. Say, it's okay. I'm just not interested in that company or that particular role. So I think it's better to that, and then go all the way through the process and then turn it down. So. And I think too that, I know that this may sound like I'm pro company or not pro employee. I'm really pro employee. I just want you to understand that. I want you to build this career that when you're 10 years into this, man, you can have the pick of what you want. That's exactly the career I built before I started my company. In fact, because of recruiting and because of contract work, I was able to spin that into a consulting company because I knew I'd worked everywhere and I knew a bunch of people. And like our first contract, that's what we did. We spun one of our old contracts into our first client. So it's great. So I think that you can do this if you just listen, take the first offer, get 1 year experience, and keep moving.
Well, this is interesting. I don't know what we're talking about here. It says, I know we're talking about getting a first job, but as an employer, Bobby, would you want someone to come to you before leaving, or should someone come to you with an offer in hand? I'm guessing this is like your existing employer, and you come with like you say, I don't know, I guess with another offer.
So I don't know. I mean, it depends on the employee. I mean, like, I don't know what I would do in every situation. I don't have a straight answer on that one because it would depend on the person. So. And
I'm thinking, like, as an employee, like,
so here's what I would ask you, Alexander, without putting me in it. Let's say that you're looking, at your job, and you go out and you get an offer, okay? So you're going to go in and you're going to leave. Do you expect the company to counter? And here's my rule of thumb that what I do is I have countered with a few, but very rarely do I do it because I think like you're probably leaving anyway. So
like you have all the reasons
you're unhappy. So like let's just part of friends and like it sucks. I don't want to see you go. But like it sounds like you've got a good opportunity. I would take it. And then people have been mad at me when I said, well, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, just take it. And people have been mad at me for doing that.
Because they expected a counteroffer, right? Is that what we're saying?
Which I think they're going to turn it down anyway. So like, there's no reason to play that game. And then why am I countering? There's something else that you're not happy with, or just something else, that it's always, it is about money, but sometimes it's about other things. And the money is just the one thing that you can point to as the factor, but like, it's usually something else. You don't like to work or whatever it is, So like, I think in general, Alex, if you're going to leave, just leave and leave on good terms. Give them a notice if they need it. I typically don't need notices because of the way we operate. So like, that's another thing that surprises people. But okay. And it's not that I'm mad. I'm not mad. I just don't need the notice necessarily. That's just how I operate because we're teaching students and like kind of things. If you leave, it's like, it's a disruption to our class. So it's just better to like rip the Band-Aid off and then we'll figure out what we're doing next. So, but I'm in a different company, a different business. So, and I don't want to talk too much in shop about how I would handle it. But in general, I think as an employee, if you want to leave, just submit your offer and just take it. Now, some companies will counter. Large companies might. And, but if you're looking for a counter, if you're fishing for a counter, you could talk to the boss before you started looking and go, hey, I would really like this or that, or can I get this, or can we work on that? Or, that's better if you want to stay.
Got the looming threat of being
but coming with an offer in hand, say, I'm going to leave unless you do X, you're probably, you should probably leave.
Just leave.
I think it's better for you. It's better for the company long term. You can leave on good terms, that kind of stuff. That's what I think. So.
Yep.
I'm different though, so we're a small company. So I know everybody. So I typically know what's going on.
Right.
I try to anyway.
Let's see. Yeah, we see this a lot. Okay, so Ben says tech Twitter does tend to kill the idea that your first job may actually be pretty crappy. I guess the idea that you can make 100K to thriving company, unlimited PTO as your first gig is unrealistic.
Yeah, exactly.
People push it though. Kind of crazy. I mean,
yeah, and you got to understand, people lie on Twitter, so that people lie about what they're actually being paid and what the jobs are. There is a lot of tech Twitter. And they could be bots. I don't know. We'll have to ask Elon if they're bots or not. But there could be people out there that are just doing engagement for engagement.
There's a lot of engagement.
So they're fake. They're fake dev. Fake JavaScript dev. That's out there and saying, hey, my first job out of the bootcamp, I made 180,000. That's what I'm doing. Or you see a YouTuber, I turned down a $360,000 job. Wow, that's a lot of money. You turned it down. So I think that a lot of it can be inflated because there's a lot of people out there that want to inflate their own ego by pushing this out there and saying, "Here, this is what I'm doing." I think that if you stay humble and bring value to the company, you're going to always be paid pretty well in this industry. So bringing value to the company is more important than trying to maximize your salary. Because if you constantly bring value, you'll be paid exceptionally well in this industry for sure. Because bringing value is where it's at anyway.
This question reminds me of a tweet that our friend Alex Tech Rally posted a week or two ago. And he was talking about offers, and he was basically making the point that, hey, just to be clear, a job offer isn't an inbox from a recruiter.
Exactly.
It's like somebody that says, "Oh, I just graduated bootcamp. I got 15 offers." No, you don't. You have 15 inboxes from recruiters, maybe not. I don't know, but maybe they're telling you about a job. That's not an offer. An offer doesn't come until it says on a piece of paper or an email that says, "Hey, I would like to hire you. I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars," or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's an offer. So don't fall for the hype too. That because, and again, this is a reason to taking the first job as well. You feel like, well, this guy over here who graduated from this boot camp said that he got 10 offers in the first week. So I'm going to get that too. So the first one that came in, I'm not really interested in it. I'm going to get those 10 as well. Just because
never
I know
take the first offer.
Exactly. So, I know this person got a bunch of offers, so I'm going to get those same offers too. They're not offers, man. Right. They are not offers. That's not what an offer is. An offer is
an opportunity to maybe interview. They're just interested.
It's an opportunity to apply. It's not even an interview.
We want to see your experience. Does it match and that kind of stuff? Yeah. So there's a lot to that before you get an actual offer.
Yes.
And I'm talking about actual money. And they're just saying, I will pay you X. Here's your vacation schedule. Here's your 401k. Here's your insurance.
An offer is something you can say yes or no to. An offer is something you're literally saying, I will start on Monday or I'm not starting on Monday.
I'll be there on Monday.
That's the only thing that is considered an offer. And trust me, people will spin their, I got a bunch of offers. They're not offers. I thought that was funny. He tweeted that a few weeks back, I think. I was that's true. Yeah. Gotta watch what people tell you. Cool. Luke's with Tech Systems, by the way.
Nice.
So I think somebody else has
mentioned. They can keep you employed for sure if you have a good relationship with them, for sure.
I know Luke's looking for his second gig too, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, definitely. Work with Tech. Definitely. They're good at what they do. Cool. I think we're ready to roll. It's Taco Thursday.
All right, cool. Taco Thursday.
Time to go get lunch. Thank you for the super chat, by the way, Luke, as well. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Luke. Good luck on that next offer. So.
Yeah, let us know. Keep us in the loop. Cool.
All right, we'll keep coding. We'll see you next Thursday. I hope we helped you out today. See ya.
Yep, we'll be back. See you guys later.